What's cracking, people? Angelic Mayhem here. Welcome to another video in my Anno Online series, and today I'm going to be talking about breathing room. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I would suggest to you is that Anno Online is the kind of game that you can divide into two parts. Alright? The first part is basically, how can I stack 1,500 vassals into a space the size of a small backyard? Okay? And so it's all about just trying to cram and desperately find enough room for 1,500 people, okay? Which is like this major milestone marker. After that, after you've gotten a little bit more cash and, you know, like we've done some of the merchant stuff and things like that, you can then begin to unlock bigger, better parts of the island and give yourself a lot more breathing room, if you will. So what I've done here is I finally unlocked this top part of the island. All right, it took 2 days and, you know, not much. I mean, some of these things, oh, I won't tell you because I'm not a capital yet. But it only took, I think, like 400 gold and some other stuff, you know, little stuff. And I took a look. There's an iron deposit here, and then there's also a stone deposit here. So those two things have to be where they are. And then I also set up my fishing huts, which have to be where they are. So that was the first stage of my breathing room exercise, was to just kind of set up and establish the things that took advantage of, like for instance, this lumberjack hut has to go here because I need to get these trees. Now, the second part of that was to actually determine where are the houses going to go. And so for that, I yanked out an actual house, right? And I actually sat it down in certain places and I said, okay, you know, how am I actually going to fit houses to maximize the space that I now have? This is the kind of thought process that I did not have the luxury of having when I was back down here trying to stuff everything into, you know, this little tiny space. And the reason for that is because I wanted to make sure that I didn't wipe out any of these trees so that I could use them to generate lumber. All right. Now, I don't have to worry about the minutia of trying to cram. I can actually move things around and then decide what the best layout is, the actual best layout for all of these buildings. So what I did was I started by adding, and now this is stage 2, I added the roads after, you know, moving this building around to see, you know, where actually all the buildings would go. And if you notice, when I bring this to this area, like it's a 3x3 grid, right? So if I go up this way, that's the next 3x3 grid. So they work right next to each other, and then there's a road on both sides, so everything's connected. These down here are all 3x3, right? So that's the thought process I had when I was designing all this, was where am I going to put these buildings and how's it going to get laid out? Because of the unique typography of this area, right? We have, you know, like a carpenter shop we're going to need. So I need to make sure that I get as close to the shoreline as possible and try to get as much of this over here as possible. Now you can see that there's this one little spot here. All right. Now keep that in the back of your mind because that's going to come up later. But for right now, I grouped all of these together. They all have a similar radius, and then they all reach at least this house and at least up here by the coast. All right, so I could extend houses all the way up there if I wanted to. Then I also have my tournament arena, and the tournament arena is required for merchant residences. So you can see down here on Merchants Row, you know, there's a deficit in the entertainment industry because my tournament arena does not reach all the way down here. So the reason why I planted this right here is because I'm going to begin moving my merchants up here. I'm going to leave behind the vassals, and then over here is the handful of pioneers who I need to have because I can't upgrade everyone. According to the game, it won't let me upgrade everyone. Now that I have this, I can begin moving these first these merchants, okay, and then move some of the vassals to where the merchants are in order to begin redesigning this space, all right, which is horrifically designed, all right. It's not in any way organized or you know, streamlined or anything like that. It's just a train wreck. So what I want to do is evacuate this area, right? Move all the people, move all the merchants up here, fill in some vassals temporarily, then use this same pattern to finish the flow of the island in order to maximize the efficiency all the way down. And that will include over to here. Now, over here, you're going to notice that I have apple orchards, okay? And apple orchards, what's really nice about them is that they're a great way to fill in these little quirky areas of your island, all right? Now, I've already done that up here because down here where this fisherman is and this apple farm is, it would be ridiculous to try to fill this in with buildings. I would have to waste extra money moving. I'd have to have one of these each for like this 1 or 2 buildings down here. So obviously, I didn't want to do that. But what I did in order to fill this space was to add an apple farm. And also, of course, the fisherman hut because there's fish right here. But this apple farm, you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4 orchards, right? And they fit perfectly into this little space that, you know, could not possibly hold. I mean, it would hold 1 building, but that building would be right here. And the rest of the space would be wasted. Apple orchards and hemp farms and things of that nature, they fill in perfectly these odd little quirky spaces. Now remember I told you that there's this one little space down here that isn't covered by the carpenter shop and some of these other buildings. That's also going to become an apple orchard. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down here, escape out of that, and yank any one of these apple orchards. I will replace it later, but for right now I just want to show you what it looks like. I'm going to bring it up here. And I know from the way that I designed it that my last building ends right here, so I can put exactly 1 apple orchard. If I rotate and put it there, all of my buildings will line up perfectly to right here. So it works out great. I hit rotate, and I can put 2 more. I'm alright with the fact that I'm only 3 out of 4. I don't need that last apple orchard. I got plenty of apples. So if this is just for filling in this area to make it productive in some way. And since hemp can't be grown on this island, it becomes an apple orchard. Now you'll notice when I plop this building, it says that there is no marketplace for that. And the reason is because while I do have a smaller marketplace here, because I know that this is a 2x2 square and it fits perfectly in that respect. And what I'm going to show you is, let me yank this one and put it right there. As far as I'm concerned, that's the perfect layout for this area. Is 2 merchants and then the marketplace in between them. And the marketplace only goes to here. At this point, I am going to begin adding buildings first, then deciding where the marketplaces go after. Since the marketplaces are the most flexible in terms of where they can go, because they're only 2x2, so you can squeeze them in anywhere. And what you will notice if I show it to you is that if you go 3 and then 3 and then 3 and then 3, when you get down here, there will be, let me plop this temporarily, there will be 2 left. So that's a perfect spot for a marketplace, and that's why I designed it like that. So this is the kind of thing that, you know, you can take any house and you can move it to your heart's content. All right, it doesn't cost you any money or any resources. You can move them all around. And that's one of the great things about the game, is that really this game is about designing things and about doing layouts. And so that's what this part is about. Now that I finally have the room to operate, I can begin sucking out these buildings, laying out the design that I truly want to have happen on this area, and then repairing the stuff that at the beginning of the game it was all about just trying to cram in. But anyway, that's where we're at the moment. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe to my website for more Anno content in the future. I'm Angelic Mayhem, and I will see you next time.